When I got back from my last trip to see Harry and Robert, I drove up that lane there and stopped just up there, and as I did so, the clutch pedal stuck all the way down and would not disengage the clutch. So with a lot of gear scraping and clanking, I managed eventually to get her into the parking place, and I called the garage. They came out very kindly. One chap lay underneath there with a crowbar. The other chap pulled the clutch pedal up and pumped it slowly, and the chap underneath said, I can see what the trouble is. It was the master cylinder. And after going around for a little bit, they managed to drive it back down to the garage. There's Gwendolyn there, and she's outside this gentleman's garage, and he is Mr. Moore, and this is where they've just repaired her. So once again, Gwendolyn's home and fixed, waiting for the next trip. And where's that going to be? Well, let's make it Usk, or in Welsh, Bryn Bwga. It is a small town in Monmouthshire and located on the River Usk, and like many Welsh towns, it boasts a castle built by a Frenchman in the 12th century, and a notable prison built or started building in 1841 and is still in use. It has been used as a prison, a detention centre, a borstal, and is now used for vulnerable prisoners. And it's also a little town where I spent about 6 months when I was 13 years old, and I started a little business there. You'll learn about that later. In the meantime, we have arrived. I'm right next to the museum and a very nice cafe restaurant. I had a meal there later on, but in the meantime, let's take a short walk into town. Usk is renowned for its flower display, and it has won many awards. Usk in Bloom. And there's a group of volunteers that take care of a lot of it, but the individuals also take part and keep their gardens looking pretty, and it's a joy to walk around this little town. And we're walking towards the high street and down this little alleyway and out onto the main road. There's not a vast number of shops here, but those that are interesting. There's the baker's, and my mouth watered looking in that window. It looks really good. And what have we here? Hairdressing tools, yes. It is Tangles, and they've even made the Welsh flag out of hairdressing tools. That's great. And the property's moving fast around here. So many of the houses on the window were sold, and the prices were high. I'll just take a walk along past some of the other interesting shops. And on the practical side, they even have an optician's. And I like this, the Eat Drink Shop. And that one over there is like Aladdin's cave inside. The River Usk is about 72 miles long, 120 kilometres, and it's crossed by this bridge in Usk. And even the bridge is well decorated. And we'll take a walk across now, and at the end of this video you'll find out why it is that I have walked across this bridge many times. Where this garage and spa shop is now located used to be a sawmill, and that's part of my story too. But now we'll go back over the bridge and have a look at the little square and the castle if it's open. Well, the river's quite low at the moment, but they do get floods, and there's the marker to see how deep they are. Quite deep, because you can see. We're back along the high street in the opposite direction, and the Usk is a salmon river, and obviously 3 of them ended up there at the Three Salmons Hotel. The 4th one got away. But now let's go and see what's going on at the castle. Going up this little lane. Nice approach. Peek over the wall. Well, there's the house. But unfortunately, it's all closed. There's a camping site here as well. Glamping, actually, really good. But now back into the village, past the inevitable fish and chip shop, and to the square. It's a very, very pretty square. And here is a bus stop, and I have spent many an hour waiting for a red and white or a Western Welsh bus there. But now for a pint in the Castle Inn. Well, I must say it's a very pleasant pub, and they serve an excellent pint. But then it was back to Wendy's at the Usk Museum Cafe. Have a look at the menu and a tasty meal. Scampi, chips and salad with a glass of milk. But now I'm off to see the house that I stayed in, and on the way there I go past the prison I mentioned. There it is, still in use today. And turn down this little lane, walk along this track, and there it is, the house belonged to my uncle and aunt, and where I was billeted for 6 months in 1954. And then on the way back, I met some neighbours who remembered my aunt and uncle. Well, I'm in my motorhome at the moment, but I live in Cwmbellenbach.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I've heard of it, but I'm not quite sure where it is.
Sorry?
I've heard of it, but I'm not quite sure where it is.
Everybody's heard of it, but they don't know what it means. My full address is White Hill on Blue Hill Road in the valley of the Little Mill by the Dark Meadow.
Oh, my
And then the postcode's in English. Maybe you can tell me the correct way to pronounce Brynbooger.
Oh, Brynbooger.
Well,
We say it the English way,
but that's all I know. I don't know. We've always called it Brynbooger, haven't we?
but the Bryn is, what's a Bryn?
Okay. Oh, well, very nice to have met you.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Go and get in the dry.
Well, if you're down this way sometime, shout.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Never wanted to.
Thank you. I haven't been videoing you, but I'm doing a YouTube video, and may I just say it was very nice to meet you,
Oh, thank you.
and lovely to have a chat with you, and I love your garden. Beautiful.
Nothing to do with me. I just admire it.
You just admire it.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I know that's a rose, but that's about my limits.
Okay.
But I make the things to put the flowers in.
Lovely. So now I'm going to tell you how I came to cross this bridge so many times with Uncle Bill's wheelbarrow on my way to the sawmill the other side of the bridge. My Uncle Bill took part in the Normandy landings in World War II as a stretcher bearer, and on one occasion a mortar dropped right close to them as they were carrying a stretcher. The chap at the other end of the stretcher died, but my uncle had an eye shot right out and was hanging on his chin. He made his way to the nearest hospital tent or place, and he was shipped back to England, where they took skin from his thigh and plastered it across the hole in his face, so he ended up looking like that. And then they made him a false eye, which they attached to his glasses, like that. When he took his glasses off, of course his eye went with it. Anyway, in the afternoons, when I'd finished my schoolwork, he'd be asleep, fast asleep, But this eye, I knew he couldn't see me, but I was never quite sure, because of course it never closed. So I used to creep very carefully past him and out and borrow his wheelbarrow. And at the sawmill I could fill the wheelbarrow with logs for 6 months, then make my way back across the bridge to the village and sell the wheelbarrow full for 1 6 profit, 1 shilling. 5 pence today. Good money in those days.